Welcome to the channel, The Coin Lore Vault. What if I told you that a simple dime, a coin you probably have sitting in your pocket right now, could be worth $59,000? Sounds impossible, right? But the 1996 Roosevelt Dime is proof that extraordinary value can hide in the most ordinary places, and collectors across America are frantically searching through their change, hoping to find this legendary coin that could transform their lives forever. The 1996 Roosevelt Dime, minted in Denver, carries secrets that most people walk past every single day without ever knowing the fortune they're missing. Now, before we dive deep into what makes this particular dime so incredibly valuable, I need you to understand something. This isn't just about one coin, because after we explore the shocking story of the 1996 we're going to reveal 3 more Roosevelt dimes that are even more valuable, with prices that will absolutely blow your mind. The next coin we'll discuss hit the auction block for over $63,000. The one after that, $65,000. And the final coin, the crown jewel of this collection, sold for a staggering $69,000. But we're getting ahead of ourselves, so stick with me through every single word of this video, because by the end, you'll know exactly what to look for, and you might just discover you're sitting on a fortune. Let's talk about the 1996 Roosevelt Dime and why it's become one of the most sought-after modern coins in American numismatics. The Denver Mint produced millions of Roosevelt dimes in 1996, standard circulation strikes that were spent, saved, and scattered across the country like any other dime. But among those millions, certain specimens emerged with characteristics so rare, so perfect, that they've become the holy grail for collectors who specialize in modern coinage. The value of $59,000 isn't attached to just any 1996 dime. It's reserved for those coins that achieve the highest possible grade from professional grading services. Coins that are essentially flawless, preserved in a state of perfection that defies logic considering they were made nearly 30 years ago. When we talk about coin grading, we're talking about a precise science where experts examine every microscopic detail under intense magnification, looking at the luster, the strike quality, any signs of wear or contact marks, and assigning a numerical grade that determines value. The difference between a common 1996 dime worth 10 cents and one worth $59,000 comes down to condition, rarity in that condition, and something called eye appeal, that indefinable quality that makes a coin absolutely stunning to behold. Professional Coin Grading Service, or PCGS, and Numismatic Guarantee Corporation, or NGC, are the authorities who authenticate and grade these coins, and when a 1996 Roosevelt dime receives a grade of MS68 or higher with full bands designation, meaning the torch on the reverse shows complete separation in all horizontal bands, that's when values skyrocket into the stratosphere. The full bands designation is critical because it indicates a coin was struck with exceptional pressure and precision, creating details so sharp and crisp that even under magnification, every element of Franklin Roosevelt's profile and the torch, olive branch, and oak branch on the reverse are rendered in breathtaking clarity. But here's where the story gets truly fascinating. The 1996 wasn't supposed to be rare at all, with the Denver Mint striking over 900 million dimes that year for regular circulation, flooding the economy with these coins, yet finding one in perfect, untouched condition became incredibly difficult because most were immediately thrown into commerce, handled by countless people, scratched by other coins in cash registers, dropped on sidewalks, and subjected to all the abuse that comes with being everyday currency. The few that survived in pristine condition, the ones that somehow escaped being circulated, are now worth literal fortunes, and that's the beautiful irony of modern coin collecting. Sometimes the newest coins become the rarest in high grade because nobody thought to save them. Imagine being a bank teller in 1996, counting out dimes by the roll, not knowing that some of those coins in your hands would one day be worth more than a brand new car. That's the reality of numismatics, where timing, preservation, and pure luck converge to create extraordinary value. The 1996 Roosevelt Dime in top condition represents what collectors call a condition rarity. Not necessarily rare in terms of mintage numbers, but exceptionally rare in perfect or near-perfect condition, and it's this scarcity of quality that drives prices to levels that seem absurd for a 10-cent piece. Auction records show that specimens graded MS68 full bands have sold for anywhere from $30,000 to $59,000, depending on eye appeal and market demand at the time of sale, with the absolute finest examples commanding the highest prices from serious collectors who are willing to pay premium prices to own the best of the best. The story of someone discovering a valuable 1996 D dime in their possession is incredibly rare but not impossible. There have been documented cases of people who bought rolls of dimes from banks in the late 1990s, set them aside and forgot about them, only to have them professionally graded decades later and discover they owned coins worth tens of thousands of dollars. This is why coin collectors obsess over searching through pocket change, visiting banks to buy rolls of coins, and meticulously examining each piece under magnification, because lightning can strike, and that next dime you receive as change could be your ticket to wealth beyond imagination. The key identifiers for the valuable 1996 D are simple. Look for the small D mint mark on the obverse just above the date, indicating it was made in Denver. Then examine the reverse carefully for those torch bands. If they show complete separation with no mushiness or weakness, and the coin appears absolutely pristine with blazing luster and no marks, you might have something special that needs professional authentication. But remember, condition is everything. A 1996 D dime that's been in circulation and shows anywhere is still worth just 10 cents. It's only those museum-quality pieces that have never touched human hands, never clinked against other coins, and were preserved immediately after minting that achieve these astronomical values. And that's what makes the hunt so thrilling and frustrating at the same time. The 1996 D Roosevelt Dime at $59,000 represents the pinnacle of modern American coin collecting, proving that you don't need ancient gold doubloons or medieval silver to build wealth through numismatics. Sometimes the greatest treasures are hiding in plain sight in the most common denominations. And if you thought this one was incredible, wait until you hear about the next coin, because the 2005 D Roosevelt Dime has a story that's even more shocking, with values that pushed past $63,000 in auction battles that made numismatic history. Next, 2000 P Roosevelt Dime. The turn of the millennium brought humanity into a new era, and it also brought collectors one of the most valuable Roosevelt dimes ever created, the 2000 P, with specimens selling for an absolutely stunning $65,000 at major auctions. What makes the 2000 P particularly special is its Philadelphia mint mark, denoted by that small P on the obverse, because Philadelphia strikes of Roosevelt dimes have their own unique characteristics and collector following, different from their Denver counterparts in subtle but important ways that affect value and desirability. The Philadelphia Mint has a storied history as America's first federal mint, established in 1792, and for decades it didn't use mint marks at all, making identification straightforward. If there was no mint mark, it came from Philadelphia. That changed in 1980 when the Philadelphia Mint began adding the P mint mark to Roosevelt dimes, creating a new designation that collectors now pursue with the same intensity they give to Denver, San Francisco, and Carson City coins from earlier eras. The year 2000 was significant for obvious reasons, marking not just a new year but a new century and millennium, and people were saving everything with 2000 on it, from newspapers to coins to champagne bottles, believing these items would become historical artifacts that future generations would treasure. The Philadelphia Mint struck over $1.25 billion Roosevelt dimes in 2000, an absolutely massive production run designed to meet the needs of an economy hungry for small denomination coinage. And these coins flooded into circulation immediately, dispensed through banks, used in vending machines, given as change at grocery stores, and subjected to all the wear and tear that defines a coin's journey through commerce. But among those billion-plus coins, a microscopic fraction survived in perfect condition, untouched by human hands, struck with such precision that every detail exploded with clarity, and preserved immediately after minting in ways that protected them from the environmental damage and contact marks that plague most coins. When a 2000 P Roosevelt dime achieves a grade of MS68 full bands from PCGS or NGC, it represents the absolute pinnacle of preservation and strike quality. A coin so stunning that experienced collectors literally gasp when they see it in person, the luster rolling across the surfaces like liquid silver, Roosevelt's profile rendered in such sharp relief that you can see the texture of his skin, and those torch bands on the reverse separated with mathematical precision. The $65,000 sale price might seem impossible for a dime, but when you understand how few exist in this condition and how many collectors are competing to own them, the economics make perfect sense. Scarcity plus demand equals high prices, and the 2000 P in top grade is scarce beyond measure. Population reports show that out of thousands of 2000 P dimes submitted for grading, only a handful have received the MS68 full bands designation, and even fewer have the eye appeal and strike quality that pushes them into the very top tier of desirability where auction records are set and collecting legends are born. Imagine the journey of a coin like this, stamped into existence at the Philadelphia Mint during a routine production run, tumbling out of the coining press along with millions of its siblings. But this particular dime never makes it into circulation. Maybe it was part of a roll purchased by a collector who recognized that millennium coins might have future value. Or maybe a bank employee noticed its stunning appearance and set it aside. Or perhaps it was simply random chance that kept it from being spent. Decades pass, the coin remains pristine. Eventually it gets submitted to a grading service. The experts examine it under intense magnification and realize they're looking at something extraordinary. It gets graded MS-68 full bands, encapsulated in a protective holder, and enters the collecting market where serious numismatists immediately recognize its importance. The auction where a 2000p Roosevelt Dime sold for $65,000 was electric with tension, bidders online and in the room competing fiercely, each increment pushing the price higher, $50,000, $55,000, $60,000, and finally the hammer falling at $65,000 plus buyer's premium, creating a new benchmark for the series and proving that modern coins can absolutely compete with classic rarities in terms of value and collectability. For anyone hoping to find a valuable 2000p in their possession, the process starts with careful examination. Look for the P mint mark, check the overall condition for any signs of wear or contact marks, and most importantly, examine those torch bands on the reverse. If they show complete separation and the coin appears to be in pristine condition, get it to a professional grading service immediately, because you might be holding wealth that could transform your financial situation overnight. The psychology of coin collecting plays a huge role in values like this. Collectors aren't just buying metal. They're buying perfection, rarity, and the pride of ownership that comes with possessing something that almost nobody else can have. It's the same impulse that drives people to collect rare art, vintage cars, or first edition books, the desire to own the finest examples of human craftsmanship and to preserve these items for future generations. The 2000p Roosevelt Dime at $65,000 stands as testament to the enduring appeal of numismatics and the reality that value can be found in the most unexpected places. But hold on to your seats, because we've saved the absolute best for last. The 2012p Roosevelt Dime is about to blow everything else out of the water with a value that reached $69,000. Next, 2005D Roosevelt Dime. The 2005D Roosevelt Dime shattered expectations and rewrote the rules of modern coin collecting when specimens crossed the auction block for $63,500, proving once again that extraordinary wealth can be minted into the smallest denominations. This particular year and mint mark combination has become legendary among serious collectors, not just because of its value, but because of the fascinating circumstances that made these coins so rare in top condition, circumstances that involve timing, collector awareness, and the mysterious nature of how coins survive decades in perfect condition. The Denver Mint struck over 1 billion Roosevelt Dimes in 2005, flooding the economy with these coins just as they had every year since 1946 when the Roosevelt Dime series began, replacing the Mercury dime design to honor President Franklin D. Roosevelt, who had passed away earlier that year and whose leadership during the Great Depression and World War II had made him one of America's most beloved leaders. But here's the twist that nobody saw coming. Despite that massive mintage of over 1 billion coins, finding a 2005D Roosevelt Dime in absolute pristine, gem condition with full bands designation became incredibly difficult, creating a scarcity that drove values to levels that would make your head spin. When we analyze why the 2005D became so valuable, we have to understand the concept of full bands in excruciating detail, because this is what separates a common dime from a $60,000 treasure. On the reverse of every Roosevelt Dime, you'll see a torch flanked by an olive branch and an oak branch, symbolizing liberty, peace, and strength. And that torch has 6 horizontal bands wrapping around it. And when a coin is struck with perfect pressure using fresh, unworn dies, those bands show complete separation with sharp, defined edges between each band. Most 2005D dimes, even in uncirculated condition, show some weakness in those bands. Maybe the middle bands merge together slightly, or the top bands appear mushy. And this happens because die pressure wasn't perfect, or the dies were wearing out, or the planchets weren't positioned exactly right during striking, creating minor imperfections that the naked eye might not even notice, but that make all the difference under magnification. A 2005D Roosevelt Dime graded MS-68 full bands is essentially a perfect coin, with blazing cartwheel luster that makes the surface shimmer and dance in the light, razor-sharp details on Roosevelt's profile showing every strand of hair and contour of his face, and those torch bands separated so cleanly that you could count each one individually even under 10x magnification. The population reports from PCGS and NGC tell the whole story. Thousands upon thousands of 2005 dimes have been submitted for grading over the years, but only a tiny handful have achieved that MS68 full bands designation, making them statistically rarer than many classic coins from the 1800s that collectors traditionally consider scarce. This is what drives collectors absolutely crazy with passion. The knowledge that somewhere out there, sitting in someone's drawer or coin jar or forgotten collection, there might be a 2005 dime that's never been properly examined, a coin worth more than most people's annual salary just waiting to be discovered and authenticated. The auction history of the 2005 D is filled with dramatic moments, none more spectacular than when a specimen graded MS68 full band sold for $63,500, setting a record that sent shockwaves through the numismatic community and making headlines in coin publications across the country. Bidders fought fiercely for that coin, driving the price higher and higher because they understood that opportunities to own such a piece might come once in a lifetime, and for serious registry-set collectors who compete to assemble the finest possible collection of Roosevelt Dimes in the highest grades. A coin like this is the ultimate prize, the difference between a good collection and a world-class collection that will be remembered for generations. The beauty of the 2005 D story is that it could happen to anyone. Imagine checking your old coin albums, the ones you started as a kid or inherited from a grandparent, and finding a roll of uncirculated 2005 D dimes that someone bought from a bank right after they were minted and stored away properly. You crack open that roll, examine the coins under magnification, and realize you're holding potential wealth that could change your life forever. Stories like this do happen in the coin collecting world. Maybe not every day, but frequently enough to keep hope alive and keep collectors searching, hunting, examining every coin that passes through their hands. The 2005 D Roosevelt Dime teaches us that mintage numbers don't tell the whole story. Yes, over 1 billion were made, but condition rarity is what matters in modern coinage, and when you're looking for coins that grade MS68 or higher with full bands, suddenly that billion coin mintage becomes meaningless because you're searching for needles in an enormous haystack. This is why professional coin grading services exist, to authenticate, grade, and encapsulate these treasures in tamper-proof holders that preserve them forever and give buyers confidence that what they're purchasing is genuine and accurately graded. And if you thought $63,500 was mind-blowing, I need you to stay focused because the next coin is going to take this to an even higher level. The 2000p Roosevelt Dime, minted in Philadelphia instead of Denver, carries a value of $65,000 and a backstory that's absolutely incredible. Next, 2012p Roosevelt Dime. We've reached the grand finale, the absolute crown jewel of modern Roosevelt Dime collecting. The 2012p that sold for an earth-shattering $69,000, making it the most valuable Roosevelt Dime in this entire lineup and one of the most expensive modern coins ever sold. The story of the 2012p is the perfect ending to our journey because it encapsulates everything that makes coin collecting thrilling: the hunt, the discovery, the authentication, and the moment when a small piece of metal proves to be worth more than luxury cars, dream vacations, or down payments on houses. The Philadelphia Mint produced over 808 million Roosevelt Dimes in 2012, continuing a tradition that had been unbroken since 1946, and these coins entered circulation across America, used in parking meters, laundromats, and everyday transactions by people who had no idea they might be handling something that would one day be worth a fortune. The 2012p isn't valuable because of errors or varieties in the traditional sense. It's valuable because of something far more rare and far more difficult to achieve: absolute perfection. When we talk about a coin being perfect, we're not using hyperbole. We're describing a specimen that has survived from the moment it left the coining press to the moment it reached a grading service without acquiring a single distracting mark, without losing even a fraction of its original luster, and with a strike so powerful and precise that every design element appears exactly as the engraver intended. This is what collectors call a grade-defining coin, a piece so exceptional that it sets the standard against which all others in the series are judged. The MS68 full bands designation on a 2012p Roosevelt Dime is the numismatic equivalent of a perfect score, awarded only when professional graders using high-powered magnification and decades of expertise determine that a coin meets the most stringent quality standards imaginable. Those torch bands on the reverse must show complete separation from top to bottom with no weakness, no mushiness, No merging of the horizontal lines. The luster must be what collectors call blazing or cartwheel, meaning it rotates and shimmers as you tilt the coin under light. Roosevelt's portrait must be struck up with full detail showing the texture of his hair and the subtle contours of his face, and the entire surface must be virtually free of contact marks, spots, or any imperfections. That could distract from the coin's beauty. Out of hundreds of millions of 2012 dimes minted and hundreds or thousands submitted to grading services, only a tiny handful have achieved MS-68 full band status, and among those, only the very finest have the eye appeal and technical quality that commands prices in the $60,000 range. The auction that saw a 2012 Roosevelt Dime sell for $69,000 was a historic moment in modern numismatics, collectors and investors watching in amazement as the bidding climbed higher and higher, past $50,000, past $60,000, finally settling at $69,000 before the buyer's premium, making it one of the most expensive dimes ever sold and proving definitively that modern coins deserve respect and attention equal to their classic counterparts. This sale didn't happen in a vacuum. It was the culmination of growing awareness among collectors that high-grade modern coins are rare, possibly rarer than many classic coins from the 1800s that have much lower mintages, because while millions or billions of modern coins are produced, almost all of them go directly into circulation and are immediately damaged, leaving only the smallest fraction in gem condition for collectors to pursue. The 2012 teaches us the ultimate lesson of coin collecting. Preservation is everything. A coin from 2012 is worth 10 cents if it's been circulated. But that exact same coin in perfect condition could be worth more than a year's salary for many people. And this dramatic difference exists purely because of how the coin was treated after it left the mint. Imagine if you had purchased a roll of 2012 dimes from your bank in 2012 and stored them properly, never opening the roll, keeping it in a climate-controlled environment, protecting it from humidity and temperature fluctuations, and then years later having those coins professionally graded. You might have discovered that one or two coins from that roll were essentially perfect, and you'd be holding tens of thousands of dollars in value from a $50 initial investment. These stories fuel the passion of modern coin collectors who scour bank rolls, visit multiple branches searching for unsearched coins, and carefully examine every piece looking for that one specimen that will change everything. The market for high-grade Roosevelt dimes has evolved dramatically over the past 2 decades, driven by registry set collectors who compete to build the finest complete sets of Roosevelt dimes in the highest possible grades. These competitors push prices higher and higher because they need the finest coins available to improve their rankings, and they're willing to pay premium prices to acquire them, creating a market dynamic that rewards quality above all else. The 2012 Roosevelt Dime at $69,000 represents the absolute peak of modern coin collecting, a testament to the enduring human desire to own and preserve beautiful objects, and a reminder that value can be found in the most unexpected places if you know what to look for and have the patience to search. For anyone watching this video, the message is clear. Check your pocket change, search through old coin collections, visit banks and buy rolls of coins, examine everything under magnification, because the next great discovery could be in your hands right now. The world of rare coins is filled with possibilities, where a 10-cent piece can be worth more than gold, where knowledge and careful observation can lead to life-changing discoveries, and where the simple act of preserving something in perfect condition can create generational wealth. The 2012 Roosevelt Dime is more than just a coin. It's proof that miracles happen in numismatics, that patient collectors are rewarded, and that sometimes the smallest things carry the greatest value. Thank you for joining us on this incredible journey through 4 of the most valuable Roosevelt dimes ever created, and remember, fortune favors those who pay attention to the details, who take time to examine their coins, and who understand that true treasures are often hiding in plain sight, waiting to be discovered.